You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing very, very well. I have a very special guest on this episode of the series. His name is John Garcia. He is the former frontman of Kyuss, Slow Burn, Unita, and a band called Vistacino. He is touring acoustically across Australia in April. I'll read out some dates. He's playing on Thursday the 19th in Geelong at the Barwon Club. On Friday the 20th, he's playing Cherry Bar in Melbourne. Gosh, that'll be a cracker. He's playing the 21st, Saturday the 21st, at the Factory Floor in Sydney. And finally, the gig that I'll be at, Sunday the 22nd, at the Brightside in Brisbane. Let's hear what the legendary John Garcia has to say. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know how much more we got of that, but I've been very lucky not to have any business execs, tell me, I think this is the direction that you want to go to. So, yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
Okay. You mentioned a name in there too, Sylvia Rome, that's come up a few times in discussions with artists, but probably most notably it came up with Nikki Sixx, and talking about that change that they went through, Motley Crue went through in 1994. She was a very shrewd but also a very hard person to negotiate with, wasn't she? Well, that's a reputation at least anyway, and I think you've just alluded to some of that through your discussion there.
Yeah, not too many journalists know the name Sylvia Rhone when I throw that out. But she was, you the president of Elektra Records, and this is when, this is '94. This is before, the internet and the whole industry changed. But when I met her and we had the meeting about the band and the song, through my recollection. She never got any like testy with us. She was calm, cool, cordial, but respectfully said, if you're looking for another $25,000, you're out of your mind, very respectfully. She absolutely just said, nope, we're going to move on, and you learned your lesson, meeting adjourned. And it was pretty that quick. But she was stern, but yet she seemed to like the band, and she seemed to show interest. She gave us some time out of her day. I know that she was very busy with, bands like, even the Doors catalog.
Yep.
They were still doing stuff with that, and so there were a lot of bands, a lot of bands on that label at that time. So, but yeah, she seemed pretty calm, cool, and cordial with me, at least when I was talking to her. But then again, I could have been, back in those days, a little inebriated at the time as well. So who knows?
Okay, so, look, on that point, Kyuss, Unita, Slow Burn, mate, you've been a part of some extraordinary projects through your career. But what stands out as perhaps your most accomplished project or album amongst those projects that is a high watermark for you personally?
Whether it would be my very first solo record, my self-titled record. I go back and I recently listened to that record, and it may not be the greatest record to the normal set of ears, but for me, it was a landmark of an incredible amount of freedom. Looking back when listening to that, I should have listened to a little bit more of my gut. I want that song, I want this record to be a little bit faster, a little bit meaner, a little bit rawer, and it wasn't. And I blame that completely on me. I think Harper Hug, my producer at the time, he had this overall vision for me, and I liked it. I liked it when I heard it, but when it was spoken to me, it was great. When I was listening to it, via the vehicle of song, it changed my view a little bit. So I moved on with working with Harper. I'm doing it myself now. I've built my own studio, and we start recording next month. So this record for me, which I'm very excited to say that we're going to be playing some of these new songs acoustically, not electrically. We're going to be playing acoustically down there in Australia for these 4 exclusive shows and 2 in New Zealand. But I'm stoked to say that we're doing some of these. But the standout would be the JG solo record. Apart from that, I think Circus Leaves Town comes in a very, 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 very close second. Because of my participation in that record. I think I had more to do with that record than any other Kyuss record. So yep. That one I'm partial to as well. So, ask me tomorrow and I could give you a different answer.
Yeah, I understand. Well, especially because you've got such a phenomenal body of work, and I don't say that often, but mate, you don't have a bad track or a bad album, and I'm very familiar with your work, of course. Um, I asked this question.
Thank you for that.
Look, I asked this question of Steve Hackett, who, of course, was the guitarist in Genesis back in the day. But Kyuss are one of those bands where I think every member of the band has gone on to significance elsewhere. So whether it be solo projects or everybody knows who Josh Homme is, of course. You were a collection of very creative souls all the way through. Whoever was in the band, I understand people came in and out, but everybody that was in the band, the perception I have is extraordinarily creative and gifted souls. So what is it that you think brought you all together? Do you think that there was something beyond the cosmos that said, this is a collective and these are the people who are going to come in and that you're going to create extraordinary music?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, through Brent Bjork and Nick Oliveri and of course Josh, and then me. When we were in high school and we went to high school together, we played American football together. I think, Andy, when you're in high school, you kind of know who the music head is. He's the guy who's wearing the Cult shirt. He's the guy who's wearing the Iron Maiden shirt. He's the guy who's wearing the Metallica shirt. And we knew who the music heads were. We were these guys. We were the music heads. We knew that, we showed up, in high school with black leather jackets and engineer boots and Misfits t-shirts on. And we knew, and I knew that Josh and Brent had played in the band because a guy by the name of Chris Cockle, the original bass player, it was like, hey, you have to come up and see his practice. You have to come up and see his practice. And I was a music fan myself. I actually I'm a fan of singers. I love singers. Anybody from Terrence Trent D'Arby to Ian Asbury to Glenn Danzig to Philip Bailey and Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire, and it goes on beyond that to Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and to a lot of jazz singers. Of course Asher Gilberto, Stan Getz, and a lot of Frank Sinatra. Even a fan of Dave Windorf. I mean, these are great singers. Yeah. I love to listen to a good singer. I love melody. I love song, but so. When we all got together, we're just fans of music, and I think performing and writing is a necessity to all of us. I think it's always been a necessity. I know that even in my schedule of doing homework with the kids and making them lunches and taking them to school and dropping them off and picking them up and, and making sure dinner is ready and this and that. And there's something to say for that type of normality, which I need in my life.
Yes.
But there's also a necessity for music. Mm-hmm. I have to be able to go up tomorrow morning to the studio and spend all day long in that studio, and that's exactly what I'm planning to do tomorrow. I'm going to go up, finish the setting up of the studio with a couple new pieces of equipment, and being able to write. And then following up with the majority of the day with press, with Australia Press, and it's just part of the excitement that I have of going back down there and making myself available, because it's not always, I can't always do music because I run a hospital, mm-hmm. and that's a full-time job. That's a 7-day-a-week job the majority of the time. But every once in a while, you have to make time for the kids. That's number one. I'm a husband and a father first. That's the very first thing that's high on my. Yeah, I try to keep my eye on the ball, and that is the ball. Is being a good father and being a good husband and being there for your kids. I don't always play video games with Marshall, but because they're so advanced these days. I'm used to the old, Atari one button, and that's it. And now there's I digress a little bit, but I think that all of us still have that passion and a necessity to create. And to release, and still wanting to be on stage and perform and getting caught up in it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier on that I'm a musician, but I'm in a very similar position to you in that I'm a husband and I'm a father of 2 daughters, and it's the balance, isn't it? And keeping your eye on the ball, and the ball is effectively being a husband and also being a parent. That's your first priority. And that balance is so essential, isn't it? Because I do find I do travel a little bit with playing music and the journalism side of things that I do, but you sort of come back into the household and the wife's been shouldering the burden of child rearing, and I've only got two young ones too, so they're only 4.5 and 3, and the house looks like a bomber's hit it, and it's hard not to sort of go, why is it, well, I'm not being critical, but saying nothing about my own domestic situation, but why is there all this stuff everywhere? Sometimes you just got to roll your sleeves up, get in there, clean up, make sure the kitchen's tidy or what have you, and dinner's made for the next day.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's exactly right. And I don't take that for granted. Me being able to get up and do some dishes and clean up and just be a part of my normal life, and being able to even, it goes down to even being able to get out of bed. I appreciate life, and I want to enjoy life, because at any second it could change. Any second it can change. And for me, it's about keeping my eye on the ball. Exactly right. And there's normality in the Garcia residence. Marshall's in the bathroom, going to the bathroom. He just had an unbelievable ceremony today. He's got the first year is over, and he's averaging a 4.0, and there was a big, huge celebration in chapel today at the church, because he goes to a Christian school, and he's averaging, not only last year he got a 4.0 grade average through the entire year, straight A's, but this first half of the year he's continuing on with that trend with straight A's. And my kids' education, as well as me showing my love for them, is number one. Yes, he's only 8 years old. Yes, he's only in third grade. But, I let him be a kid. Absolutely, he has to be a kid. He has to play games. He has to go out and play basketball, and we make sure we have plenty of time for that. But even more so than music, I think that the biggest part of my life is dedicated to my kids' education. Yep. And that, to me, for some reason, I don't know why it affects me, but it affects me where I know how the world is, and if I do not teach him, the world has a funny way of teaching them for me, and I refuse to have the most dangerous thing in our living room is the internet. That is the most dangerous weapon in our living room. So I'm very, very, very careful with that, and I'm very, very careful what he exposed to, because it's all about the phone. It's all about the gizmos and doodads, gadgets and gizmos, and it's gut wrenching for me just to see him get so involved with that. But it becomes a great motivator to get something done, to have him learn. So I use these tools as much as I can, and nobody told me how to become a father in high school. There's no home ec for dads. Either you get it or you don't get it. And I want to be there, and that's there's a lot of people think I just get up in the morning and smoke a joint and have a beer, and I get up and I sit around the campfire with Mario, Lolly, and Josh and Brent, and we just sit around and get stoned up. Yeah. There's nothing farther than the truth. That doesn't go on. I have to. I'm up at 5. We're making lunches. I'm cleaning up dog poop. I'm scooping the litter box. I'm feeding the fish. And that's the truth. And there's no rock star for John. This Australia tour is so exciting for me, because I don't get a chance to do it very much. I do tours maybe once or twice a month, or once or twice a year. And luckily, my hospital allows me to be able to be gone for, 10 days, to go down to Australia to play, if only 4 exclusive shows, 4 shows only. This is what Daddy gets. This is where Dad's going. Yeah. And I'm going to do it, and I'll be back. Please continue to do well in your schooling. Mom's on her own, and look at when we're gone, Andy, and you know this to be true. I think that our women are the heroes here. Our girls are the heroes. I'm not saying that I'm whipped by any means, but I definitely will let you know that my wife and my kids really allow me to come down to Australia. They allow me to do this because
I understand where
you're
you're
right.
coming from.
It's all about the balance. And I'm sorry for that long-winded answer, but I had to go off of what you said about you've got 2 girls. I've got a girl who's 15 in high school, freshman, and then of course I've got my son who's in 3rd grade, who just had that giant ceremony for having not only last year straight A's, but the first half of this year straight A's. So we're extremely proud, and that's something to celebrate. And and it's not the song. I'm going to continue on a little bit longer. It's not the song that I'm really concerned about, because that to me comes easy. I like being able to write, and that I'm inspired very easily, and I'm still able to write. But man, how exciting it is to see this awesome grad certificate that my son got. That to me is better than any record that I've ever came out with, and that's what I mean by keeping my eye on the ball, and that's really, 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 really something special. And I try not to let anything else get in the way. Sorry for that long-winded answer, but you're a dad. You understand.
It's probably some of the most profound comments that I've had in 300-plus interviews or so to date, and I've got to hand it to you, mate. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, so congratulations to your son for his 4.0 grade average there. What can I say, mate? I do host a podcast series, so I'll just ask you now, are you okay if I broadcast this? Because I think it's really important that people hear this from you, because there are so many people out there that have this
absolutely. It's true.
They have this thing called, it's not my statement, it's somebody else, I'm borrowing it, the Peter Pan syndrome. They think that rock stars and musicians, I went to a audition the other day, mate, and the members of the band in the rehearsal room are of my age, so I'm 39, and they're passing around some Fireball rum between themselves and drinking from the bloody bottle. Of course, I declined, and I had no intention of accepting the gig if I was successful with it. But I get really disappointed in musicians and people around the music industry, their attitude, and even the perception that people like the John Garcias of the world or the Jason Newsteds of the world, mate, you're the ones that are actually doing it. You're the ones that are working your asses off, or have worked your asses off, to bring great music to the people. But you've never lost perspective on the fact that you're a human being and you have regular routines and commitments that you need to keep on top of. What you've just described there about
exactly right.
About your business, with your animals, I can tell you're a very proud father and a doting father, and you evidently you would be a wonderful husband as well. And I think people need to hear that there is no separation between, when I say this term, you know what I mean, the rock star John Garcia. You're an everyday bloke.
Yeah.
You've created some of the most incendiary and vital music of post-1990. And a lot of people agree with me on that point too. Kyuss are probably one of the most revered bands in the past quarter century. So I'm going to read something out to you. I'm inspired to read something out to you, actually, because I don't think people understand. Now talking to you as a man, as a human being, being able to have this opportunity to have a discussion, and of course being so familiar with your music and having lived with your music for a period of time. So one of the biggest band in the world, and I've already alluded to the band a few times through our discussion, but it's Metallica. So this is something that I wrote when I did a review on your solo album, The Coyote Who Spoke in Tongues. So this is just a small snippet of it, so bear with me here for a moment.
Sure.
Way back in 1996, Metallica's James Hetfield and Jason Newsted were in Australia for a promo tour touting the still divisive Load album series. Both made repeated references to the brilliant Kyuss. Kyuss had supported Metallica during the Australian leg of the Nowhere Else to Roam tour, which had landed on these shores in 1993, and how much of an effect John Garcia and co had on Metallica across each of the 9 dates is not necessarily a mystery. My hypothesis is that key elements of the California Cantina in the Desert at Dusk vibe of the then in-market album from Kyuss, which is Blues for the Red Sun, of course, and its follow-up, which is probably my favourite, Sky Valley, made their way onto the Load album series. Most notable is the thick, bouncy blues-inspired riffage and Lars Ulrich may have paid particular attention to Brent Bjork's ride-soaked drumming. Now here's the key point. Regardless of any perceived influence Kyuss had over Metallica or the myriad of other so-called desert rock or stoner bands to come, Garcia is a relevant and vital artist. His contribution to rock and roll is ongoing, not historical. And the comments that you make about your family and your life in general, mate, all tie in very nicely to that what I wrote there almost 12 months ago.
Wow. Those are great words. I appreciate. I appreciate a journalist who understands family, and I have no problem going over any type of allotted amount of time to talk about such things as normality in one's life. Those words are great words. Honored to be just to be involved in in a small piece of that paragraph, and I really, I'm I think the best thing for myself, I think, was the demise of Kyuss, because I found out who my friends were really quick, and it made me the person I was today. Because back in the day, I don't think I had this much appreciation for life, and for, nor I didn't have any kids. I was just, this was a different me, and I'm certainly glad. That all the Kyuss members have went off, and like you've truthfully stated before, like everybody has a great, career. Brent, Nick, and Josh, and even myself, I'm very, very lucky to have still able to do these things. It's a necessity, and I'm still, again, my family allowing me to do this is really rad, and just to be involved in this project and involved in this conversation is something that I really honestly do appreciate, and I look back at the old me, and I wouldn't have appreciated it. But I think, all things happen for a reason, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't thank the big man upstairs for making this happen, because it turned me into the person that I am today, and so have my kids. When some dads get it and some dads don't. And my dad got it. I knew that he loved me. I knew that regardless of my parents were divorced, I knew that he loved me, and that was huge. And he's no longer with us, and I miss one of my best friends and my father, every day of the week. But boy, let me tell you, it's refreshing to have a conversation, just a normal conversation, just about life in general, and go like, okay, what's really important here? Like, let's talk about why we're able to do this, and why we're able to do this is because we have two rad women who just happen to be our best friends. That's something you say.
Yeah.
We should be having a conversation in regards to Wendy and your wife. We should be interviewing them. Is what we should be doing.
She'd probably say I'm a pain in the ass, to be honest.
I wonder what they would really say. But it's weird, because when you do start talking about this stuff, which I don't talk about on a daily basis, when I get a journalist that has smart, intelligent questions and kind of gets to tugs on me a little bit, it's not more of it's not an interview, it's more of a conversation. But I enjoy talking about this stuff, and so it's
wonderful.
It's great, and me and Aaron are going to go down there. We're really stoked about this whole idea of this Australian tour. And listen, Andy, this thing is about as stripped down as you can get. It's one guitar, one vocal. There are no effects. There's no effects on the vocals. There's no reverb. It's just dry and a straight up jumbo guitar, six string guitar. And we're very, very, very excited about this tour. And this is the very first day of press that I've had, and this is the last, this is the last little piece that I'm doing for the day. It wasn't a big, huge press day for me. I only had 3 or 4 today, but I'm just stoked to be talking about it. And while Marshall is behaving himself and rolling around on his what do you call that, Marshall? A hoverboard? His hoverboard that she just got for his birthday. He loves this thing, so he's running around all over the house with it, and it's truly my Friday. And by the way, happy Australia! It's Australia Day, right?
It was Australia Day yesterday, so I'm talking to you. It's now, what time is it now? 10:50 on Saturday, but yesterday was Australia Day. Yeah, we celebrated it. My mum came up from Sydney, and we spent some time in the city here in Brisbane, walking around and just taking in the sights. And after the kids went for a swim here at the hotel that we're staying at, we watched the fireworks go off. So. Yeah, it's a good day, mate. It's a good day to sort of remind yourself of how lucky we are to live in Australia, to be frank. I've travelled a little bit. My wife's actually half Filipino, half Croatian, so we do go to the Philippines quite a bit. And you get a very unique appreciation for Australia and what we've got here. Just the quality of sunlight in Australia is just
beautiful. You know, just without the pollution and clean water from taps, and you know, the traffic isn't too bad, to be frank with you, not compared to how it is in the Philippines at the very least. And I've spent some time in the States as well. I love the States. I love New York in particular. Big fan of jazz, so I like walking around and just sort of meeting different people and talking to them about music in a place like that. So, but yeah, to your point, Australia Day, mate. No, we had a good one yesterday. So today, what's on the agenda today? We're going to go on the ferry on the river here in Brisbane. The kids haven't been in a ferry yet, or a jet cat, I think they call it, or city cat. And we'll just spend some time with the family, just, you know, my mother and her partner, because my father died years ago, so she's since met a lovely bloke, and we're very close to him, as the kids are very close to him, and I think we'll just take it easy through the day and then make a decision on when we had dinner tonight.
Very nice. Andy, I know I can tell you're a family man. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I want you to go and enjoy that time, and very kind words, and thank you so much for involving me and wanting to be a part of this little promo tour, this little thing that I got going on, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, and tell your family I said hello, and enjoy your day, and thank you again for all the kind words. Awesome.
Thank you very much, mate, and I'll be in the crowd there at the bright side, no doubt about that. So congratulations again on a wonderful career, and thank you very much as well for this discussion.
Thanks, Andy. Take care.
No worries, mate. Catch ya. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I must say I really enjoyed that conversation with Mr. John Garcia, the former frontman of Kyuss, touring acoustically across Australia through April. That's it for now. Thank you so much for listening.